Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast.
And we get the back view of him. And I mean, it's just a mega.
52 yards is a long shot. Magnum PI is what we named him. No idea.
Just a magnum.
Yeah, just a magnum.
Come on, Cam, last year we said probably 150, mid 150.
Yeah.
Same doe from the morning come out with that 9-pointer.
Here steps out this 90-inch 8-pointer. You're like,
I'm like, okay, well, there's still a buck back there grunting.
Yeah.
And then out steps like another 90-inch 8-pointer. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm like, deer right there.
Yeah, like
and he's already
yards.
30 yards.
Yeah.
He was literally 5 yards from the base of the tree. Could have been had a buck down at 1:40 in the afternoon, back there deep on public. 3 does come out pretty early. It was like 245, 24 yard shot, sent the combat veteran, and I tell you what, man, dude, it just smoked. We always get so jacked up when the other person kills. It's just almost like we got it done.
Yeah. And when you killed that doe, I was like, hell yeah, man.
And we come down here to Missouri.
I asked Cody one more time, I'm like, is it a good buck? And he goes, yeah, real good, solid buck. I'm like, all right, boom. And the deer just drops. Sure. Super special meat.
Whitetail Legacy Podcast, bringing you back to the hunt and leaving a legacy. Baller rut.
All right, guys, welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast. Still coming in your ear holes. We're like 3.5 years deep, like 3.5 inches. 3.5 inches in the ear hole coming at you. This episode is going to be me and homie. We had a guy message in and just ask us if we'd killed any whitetails. Basically, we run a whitetail podcast and just basically wanting, like, I don't know, some info of if we have any street cred out there. And we're always the guys that are like, yeah, we've killed a few. We don't know exactly what we're doing out there, but we work our ass off and we get it done. That's why we have a podcast, to learn, talk to dudes, and go from there. But you got anything else to say about that, homie?
No, I mean, we do work our ass off and get it done. And we have had some luck out there. We've chased some big deer. And we get lucky here and there.
Yeah, so we want to have this podcast and kind of break down the bucks of the last 5 years of what we killed, kind of the time, the temperature, how we were set up, etc. Just to see if there's anything that lays out public, private, what we got going on there, gun, bow, whatever it was. Just kind of get that out and then make a nice collage of the bucks that we killed. And like I said, just let the listeners know that we have killed a few deer. We're definitely not specialists in the field of whitetail killing, but we're trying to learn. So we're getting the people that make this possible. We're getting the show. You got that suicide hotline prevention?
Yes, I do. It is 1-800-273-8255. That 8255 just kind of rolls off there. So very easy to share, very easy to get that number out there and potentially help somebody that you don't know is suffering from a condition.
Yeah.
Also this week.
Oh, go ahead.
Also this week, I have a veteran shout out. I seen this from our longtime, very much appreciated listener, Matt Talkington. He posted on Facebook about this gentleman. This was, I believe, First Lieutenant Clovis Ray. Clovis was killed in action actually today, March 15th, back in 2012. They were, in Matt's picture, it said in the Kunar province of Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. So Matt just wanted everybody to keep the Ray family in your thoughts and prayers. And we salute you there, Clovis.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man. Nothing more we can really say there. Just
it's probably Ray Clovis. Probably Ray Clovis.
Yeah. The ultimate sacrifice for, going over there and not only serving, but giving it all, giving everything that you got. One thing also I want to do on this episode that we don't really do, been hella grass fires lately. So just a shout out to anybody that's a volunteer firefighter or helps out in the community. That's all appreciated too. My wife, volunteer firefighter, and she's been going to a lot of medical calls. People are getting out, moving around outside. Older people, maybe they've been inside all year and they're getting hurt. And then people are just burning the grass, time of year to burn the grass, and it's getting away from them. So if you have any grass to burn, call the fire department before you do it, just so they're prepared and they know the area. And then also, when we did it, we called that number. So if anybody did call us in, they knew that someone was burning there. So the fire department didn't come out randomly and just be like, hey, what's going on? So,
yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, let's get into Exodus. I want to touch on Exodus this week. We normally give you a trail cam tip of the week, but we want to touch on their YouTube this week. It's off season for whitetail, and they're still putting out awesome content. They just did an episode with Mark Kenyon a couple weeks ago that I really liked, kind of like his journey to where he is now. They do have their tech page where it goes through like a lot of stuff. If you're new to trail cams, or even if you're kind of experienced, go through that tech page on their YouTube. There's a ton of content on there. We even learned stuff, and we're pretty familiar with trail cams. Been running a long time, and we learned stuff off there. And then, of course, they got their whitetail cribs going still, and their trail cam radio podcast, putting out a ton of content. Those guys, I talked to them last week, and they're driving all over the place, still recording whitetail cribs. So shout out to them for just putting in ass loads of work to create content. So, do you have Last Breath?
Yeah, get into Last Breath. Do not forget that they also have the Last Breath Huntcast that is released on Monday morning, so you can get your week started off on the right foot there. They're also rolling out their Shed King series on YouTube on Thursday nights. And if you want to watch our video podcast, it's also going to be hosted on their YouTube, rolling out also on Monday morning. And not looking too far ahead here, but they got some turkey footage getting ready to drop. So be ready for that.
Is your Oklahoma bird on there?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I haven't seen any of it, so
yeah, no, that was last year.
To watch that. Yeah,
it's already on there. Oh, you haven't watched that?
It's already on there.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it.
Oh, you've been sleeping.
Maybe I did. I don't know. I don't think I have. I thought it was. See, my years are all messed up. I thought it was this year's content. That was last year's content.
No, that was 2 years ago we went.
Oh God, I'm lost out here.
Last year we were gonna go to Nebraska.
I'm like homie in the woods out here. Just which way is north? I don't know. Where's the lake? I'm gonna walk into it.
Where's the tallest grass that you can find on the property? I'm gonna find it. Yeah, on the lake. I got you on the lake. All right. Yeah, bro. I'm on the north side.
Yeah. Last week for Underwarmer guys, this is a company that wanted to get their name out. So if you guys haven't checked them out, check them out at underwarmer.com. Cool product, something new that we didn't know existed. And hopefully you guys checked them out. And if it's something that you use, you bought it and liked it and enjoyed it. We like finding these kind of different gear that's not really in the hunting industry. And then also, like Hunt Wars last week, just different stuff that's going on in the off season. So that's why we're doing this episode right now. We're kind of just putting it all out there, what we killed in the last 5 years and what we got going on. It's funny. There's such a competition with whitetails, and maybe it is like that with the elk and mule deer, and we're just not in that zone, so we don't know. But there's just like this, like almost a gotcha if you talk about whitetails and you haven't killed very many, which I think is wrong, because a guy that's killed one or two, his experience, you might be able to learn something off that. Or it might be, I love it when their experience was something like mine, because you see like 2 or 3 big deer do something, you're like, okay, this wasn't a fluke. That's what my brain's like that North Ridge on the public. We've seen 3 bucks over there. We're like, okay, we know that bucks like to be there. That one buck wasn't a fluke. Second buck, he was on a doe. Maybe there was something weird going on. Third buck's there. We're like, okay, this is for real. So
yeah,
even a guy that's killed a couple bucks, he's like, oh, it was, late October cold front. It was it's cool to think about kills that you've had or stuff that you've seen. So I don't really get into that. You're a good whitetail hunter if you killed a lot of deer. You know, I think consistent killing is a lot of luck. Just got to be in the right place at a lot of times, some years, and it happens. But there's definitely is some skill behind it, but I don't put myself on a bracket to say I'm a skilled whitetail hunter. Just not there. I mess up way too much. I know you feel the same way.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I do too. But I don't know if you misspoke there, but I think consistent killing it should be more valued over you killed 190. You know, like
that's what
you're
I meant to say. I said, that's what I meant to say. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I
If
think
you kill,
consistent killing,
150, 160, and you're in the ball game every year, that is when, like, I mean, you're getting up there. You're really starting to figure it out.
yeah, that's what I meant to say. You know, like one guy killing a really big buck, and then 3-4 years he's out there struggling. I mean, he's still learning like everybody else. But if a guy can go out there, maybe he's losing property, getting different property, hunting public, doing this, doing that, and he's still successful, the guy's either putting in a bunch of work or he's got a little bit figured out. Is what I think. So we want to come with you straight honest. This is what we killed in the last 5 years. This is what we got going on. This is what we learned from them. We'll kind of go over the dates, the times, what was going on. And hopefully you guys can, you know, get some content out of this, make some connections on hunts that you've had, or just, you know, just get a little more backstory of us, you know what I mean? And what we've done. So I don't know. I think we've talked about kind of our hunting heritage in the past, but before the last 5 years, I'd killed a lot of bucks, a lot of 110s, 120s around there, Southern Missouri. I killed a 125 right when I came to Illinois on public. And then when I killed that one 5 years ago, that's when stuff really started clicking for me. So I know you had hunted for a long time, killed some small bucks, killed a doe, then you killed your big shotgun buck. And that's when you were like, okay, it's time to really get the gears in motion, start clicking, and stuff starts working for you. So I'm going to start off with a big 10. He's in the quarter over here. He's 155. I killed him October 15th in the evening. And this was the first year on this property. And I had just picked the lease up like a month before that. So I had very little trail cam data on there. I think I had like 3 or 4 trail cams at that point. Not really in the game deep on the trail cams, but I knew that the property was good. I'd found some sheds on it in the past and some giant bucks. About the 30th of October, I'd really see how good this property was. It was just insane, you know what I mean? But I didn't know going into this. But October 15th evening, we got a small cold front coming in. I'm driving home from work. At this time, I got, you know, one kid on the way. So it's easy to be like, hey, I'm going to the woods. So the neighbor is picking corn across the road. So I was thinking, man, that's the closest cornfield to me. Something gets bumped. It's going to work right down this fence line, come right to me. I get in the stand, 4 o'clock, and this buck's coming through the grass at 4:30. I sat there for 30 minutes, and I don't think he was a buck from the area. I grunted at him, real aggressive, postured, come in, postured up, raked the tree. We're October 15th. We're not really in the ball game for them to be real aggressive. So I think he was just new to the area, trying to maybe got bumped from that combine, was like, hey, I don't know what bucks are over here. But just cruise right out of there. He was either got bumped or I must have been right on top of his bed for him to be out 4:30 in the afternoon on the 15th. So 15-yard shot, crashed about 70 yards. What's funny was, like I always do, homie, I'm like, I don't know if he's down. I seen him go down. I'm like, I'm not sure if he's down, you know?
Yeah.
And
craziest shit I ever seen is you be like, I don't know.
Are you sure he's down? I get to really second guessing it, but he's over. You know, I see him go down, and then I get down, and I call my buddy, and I'm like, I just killed a 165, 170 class deer. You know, I'm jacked. I think he's got giant brows, come through the grass all postured up. I'm like, God, it's a magnum. But anyways, blood trail, 70-yard blood trail, took me 2 hours to find him. absolutely horrific. In tall grass, I'm walking like can't find blood. I'm 300 yards in the wrong direction. I come back. I'm like, I'm just gonna, instead of just walking where he's at, I'm just gonna follow the blood trail. Follow the blood trail, walk right to him. So one cool story about that before we move on was the buck actually ran onto the neighbors when I shot him. So maybe like 25 yards. So it was super cool. I found that deer, and there was a headstone out there, like a rock. And I moved the leaves away, and it said, "Beauty is all around you." And the guy that owned that property, his brother used to hunt that, and his brother had died, and he put a rock up with his name on it that said, "Beauty is all around you." And that buck was like 5 yards from it. So I kind of just took that moment in, like, this is pretty awesome. That rock's probably still out there. It was out there when I tracked the big one that I lost. So just cool. The little tidbit to the story there to really make it soak in. And that was the deer. Like I said, he ended up being 155. That was the deer, you know, the second deer I killed in Illinois when I moved here. And that was the one that really was like, okay, I'm absolutely jacked about whitetail. I got good ground now. I'm not out on the public pounding. You know, 6 years ago, it wasn't cool. You know, everybody's like, there ain't no big deer out there, blah, blah, blah. There probably was, but people just weren't exposing it like it is now. Like I said, I killed one the year before out there, but it just wasn't the same as this piece, man. I'm in the corner on the Tina lease. You know, I'm 200 yards from the truck. You know what I mean? Like, this is perfect. Preset. Yeah, preset. Beautiful. Nice shooting lane. So it was definitely a different ball game. But one other thing before we go to homing was another reason we want to do this is because if you guys aren't following Bill Winke on his Instagram, he's posting daily bucks. I think he's on like 21 now or something. So it's crazy. This is kind of another inspired moment on this podcast was, you know, he's starting to post to his social on his Facebook and Instagram. So dude is a legend in the outdoor industry or just in hunting in general. So if you guys want to follow him, and I've been posting daily just because he kind of inspired me to post some stuff, and maybe just I really wanted to show like the gradual. It's okay to like have a gradual path into it, and you start killing and you get more and more and more into it. You don't have to go in your first year hunt and be like, okay, I'm killing a 150 or nothing. So, all right, homie, what you got over there?
I kind of missed the boat on the last 5-year deal, but this buck here that I'm going to talk about, I want to talk about my first bow kill buck. And before I get into that story, I want to touch on me hunting before that real quick, because before I killed this deer, like I passed bigger bucks, better, more mature bucks, because I'm out there chasing, like I'm out there wanting a 180 to fall into my lap. And it'd be like my first year, like then I would shoot that, you know. But looking back now, like, why? You know, I don't know why I did that. Of course, everybody would shoot a big deer, and but you have to follow that learning curve like everybody does, and I didn't know that. And when I have a picture of when I recovered this buck, and in the picture, I'm not smiling. Like, I was jacked up enough to shoot it. And looking back at this picture, it really pisses me off that I'm not smiling. Like, you did something. You finally shot a buck, and you shot this buck instead of the super massy 8-pointer that was at 27 yards, instead of 32 yards that you shot this deer at. And you just have better opportunities at better deer that you let go by for nothing. And you're missing out on all that experience. You're missing out on all the memories, all the stories you could tell. If you had 6 fork horns on the wall, you're gonna miss out on all that stuff. So every chance, not saying that, everybody gets to go into their own space of deer hunting, whichever way that you want to go. This is just kind of my space and my path that I went. And I didn't obviously know what I know now back then. And I should have, I don't know if I was scared to mess up. I don't think it was that. I was just wanting to shoot okay, that's a hammer. I'm going to shoot.
Yeah, I mean,
Instead of just
the
shooting
first
like
deer
a
you
solid
seen was
buck.
your dad's, you know what I mean? So,
Oh yeah.
I mean, the
A
listeners don't know that the first deer you see get killed, it's like a 185, 187, you know what I mean? So definitely hard to.
Yeah, 18 pointer off the ground at 9 yards. I guess it can ruin a guy.
Yeah,
on your
you know, so you're
very
expecting
first day deer hunting.
you're expecting that this property is loaded with these. You're not knowing, you know what I mean? You're out there like, man, I just want to kill something like that. So you get that your first experience hunting. So you're passing these solid deer they should be killing, which I like that. That's a good message. You see these guys like us talking the 155 or whatever. That wasn't my first deer. That's probably like my 18th, 15th, 18th buck. You know what I mean? I've killed fork and horn, 6-pointers, spikes, button bucks, 8-pointers, basket rack, half racks. I killed a half rack in northern Missouri during rifle season. That it was legal, 4-point restriction. Boom!
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I killed a lot of stuff, and I feel like people talk, they get into hunting, they just feel like they have to get on that path of, okay, to be respected or whatever, I got to kill X class of deer, which really isn't true. I don't know how many times we talked about when the kids get bigger of us going back, and it's going to be cool to make sure that they go through the process and not get hooked up on, this isn't an age class deer you want to kill off this property, so we're not going to kill it. But go ahead.
Yeah. And actually, the wife she's had her crossbow out the last 2 weekends, and I've got it sighted in, and she's doing actually really stellar shooting. And it's amazing of like how safety conscious I am of like, all right, where's her finger on the trigger? Where's the safety at, you know? And she's actually doing fantastic on that. So that's really good not to have to like correct any bad habits off the get-go. But just like we were talking about there, going back to the kids, like maybe October 2nd, like I'm going to be out there begging for a fork and I want to walk out because I'm telling you, like, you better launch this thing right here. You know, I mean, it's just going to be cool to go out there and see her hopefully get it done and be able to experience that. I'm real jacked up. I'm kind of jacked up for that for the first
we put her in the scrape tree stand. She'll shoot a small buck. Guaranteed. Out.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
I was
Take
actually
out
going
one of
through
those
them cards.
6-pointers that we keep passing.
Yeah,
that 6-pointer is going to be
cards,
a basket 8. It's been passed 98 times from a button buck to a 6-pointer. Loves that scrape tree, bro. It's going to be a basket 8 next year.
It's going to be solid.
Let her smoke it. Giant stand there. Be perfect.
Oh,
yeah.
Little lean back to it. It's absolutely mint. Yeah. All right. So getting into my first bow buck, it was on November 13th, and it's a transition area right off of the ag source. The stand's located about 55 yards in off this ag field. A really open set of really open timber there, not a lot of trees. A big oak ridge in the middle, followed by creek on both sides. And they just kind of come in off the ag field, go right around the end of that ridge and get down on the creek and walk the creek all the way back to the neighbors where they're bedding. And I don't think you've been back to the neighbors there, Cody, but before they sold it, I had permission to be back there walking. I couldn't hunt, but I could go back there and scout and such. And that's kind of like what really unlocked this key for me, is getting back there and like seeing how thick it was compared to our open timber. And I'm like, okay, all the deer that are coming in here are definitely coming back here to bed. And crazy hot sign in there. And I caught this deer coming in off of the ag field, heading back to that bedding area. It was the day before a cold front, because 2 days later I would be out there absolutely frozen. And I don't know. He probably high 115, 120 score wise on him. And the track job on this deer was a 32-yard quartering away shot him kind of far back, got up in there. And just like I was saying earlier about, passing deer and getting to miss out on all that intel, of actually tracking a deer. So I've tracked, a handful of does at this point, but actually a buck, you're like super in the game. And like we were literally pin drops in a grass hayfield. And it was me and my older brother, and he had shot a couple deer with a bow. And so he was kind of, we're going through it at this point, and, just to be able to learn to like, man, you really got to take your time and try to make a good shot. And it's a couple inches can get you in the good stuff, or it can get you out of the good stuff and back in the gut to where you're not going to have a, super good blood trail. And I was trying to get back because the angle of him was so it was kind of hard. And I was just trying to make sure I was going to get back past that rib and get up in there, and it ended up getting a little bit to the right of me. But I learned a lot on that blood trail. And if it had been another buck that I would have passed, I wouldn't have learned any of that. So that's just kind of my first bow buck, the day before cold front on November 13th.
Nice. All right, well, I'll get into my next buck here. So like I said, I was into the whitetails now. Like I finally killed a solid, nice buck. I'm in the game. I got the property. I'm going to go all out. I'm going to start running a bunch of cams. I put a food plot in the timber, a little food plot, and I had this buck that year. Well, that was the year I shot and lost a giant. The same year I killed the 10. So I shot and lost a giant. I was pretty burnt out. I didn't hunt a lot late season. So going into the next year, I was like, all right, clean slate. Here we go. There's this buck that I called Homeboy because I'd see him like no matter what stand I was in, I'd see that deer. It was just like, buck's coming, buck coming. Homeboy, you know what I mean? I'm like, it's like a 6-pointer at King, And found both of his sheds that year. And then the next year come around, I'm like, okay, I don't think he's going to be a deer I want to kill. And deer just blows up like 30 inches, insanely big. So, for 1 year growth. And I got trail cam pictures of this deer bedded. Like I was all over him early season. And I was like, October 1st, I'm going in there. I'm going to kill this deer in the evening, coming out of his bed, textbook. I go in there. I bump that deer. I don't see him for like 2-3 weeks. He comes back on trail camera. I'm in there the 8th of November. I remember I was messaging you. I was like, I just see my 9th buck, and you're like, what the hell is going on?
I'm at work.
Yeah, he's at work. I'm like, it's off the chain out here. It's a baller rut, man. Baller rut going on. And here comes this big chocolate rack 8-pointer. Not real massy, but real tall. I'm like, all right, I'm going to shoot this deer. Comes right in 10 yards, just absolute money, And I'm like, all right. And I look out in the eye. He's coming in. I'm like, I'm going to shoot him right there. He needs to take about 3 more steps. And I see Homeboy coming right behind him. I'm like, all right, I'm shooting Homeboy. Probably score a little bit less, but I got the sheds. That was my deer for the year. I'm finally going to put all the pieces together. It's going to be magnificent. Textbook, got the trail cam, got the sheds, passed them last year. Here we go. He comes in. I let this buck come by. Homeboy is right. I got to let him get close because the fence is like 20 yards from the property line.
Mm-hmm.
I got to let him get close to shoot him. He's like 3 steps through the fence gap, and I draw. And the 10-pointer or the 8-pointer that's below me sees me draw. He freaks out. Homeboy freaks out, and he's standing like 25 yards away, quartering away. And I held my bow for, I said like 2 minutes, but it's probably like a minute. I got it like on my leg. This deer, I could shoot the 8-pointer right now, like 10 yards. He's still there. And I'm just holding out. I'm like, all right, if that one spooks, I'll shoot this one. If this one spooks, I'll shoot that one. But everybody's cool right now, so I'm just going to chill. So I'm just chilling. And this deer kind of basically does a tail twitch. He puts his head down. Homeboy takes one step, quartered away, tucked it in there. Both his legs just gone. I tucked it all the way up in his chest, and he's just plowing dirt. And in my mind, I'm like, oh God, I shot him kind of far back behind the rib. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Looked good. I'm going to give him 6-7 hours, just to make sure it's liver or whatever. It's cold. It's November 8th in the morning. I got all day. So I go in there right at evening and track that deer. He made it pretty far, made about 120 yards. And that is the only deer that the coyotes have got before I got there, where they literally got everything off that deer. And there's a pig farm there. We know that there's really high coyote population. We got ass loads of trail cam pics, seen them all the time. So didn't surprise me, but I think that deer, he ran until he died. He was all the way up in the bushes where he just ran and collapsed on top of them. And I saved the front quarter and the rack, and that was all I could get off that deer. So had to get a new cape. But he's an 8, split brows and kickers and stuff. Real cool, real heavy. He ended up being 148 inches. And that was like the first deer where I got the trail cam pics. Everything was magical, working out, and that was pretty cool. I was in it deep. I hunted hard after a giant, like I always did. And of course, I never shot the other giant. We're a 2-buck state, so my property was really good. So I'd shoot a solid buck, and I'd pass solid bucks until I had an absolute magnum come through, and I was hunting that big 8-pointer that the neighbor killed. That was 184.
God.
So I had an absolute magnum to chase. I had encountered him. Would have been
Grandpa
a day.
seen him?
Yeah, my grandpa seen him. It would have been a few days after I had shot that one. So like the 12th of November.
I would say 12th, yeah.
Yeah, I encountered him at 60 yards. Couldn't get a shot. Snort wheezed at him, scared him. Another deer that I snort wheezed at, and he didn't like it. Grunted first. I feel like if you snort wheeze at him, you got to do that right off the rip. Like, don't grunt, let him get a feel. Just hit him with the wheeze right off the rip, and maybe they're like, all right, this dude means business. He ain't on the ground. But
right?
I ended up spooking him right to my grandpa. Buck was so big, he couldn't even draw his bow. He's hunting southern Missouri, so like a 135 is really good down there. And here's a 184 8-pointer.
In trail cam, that deer is absolutely humongous.
In trail cam, he's dumb. And then when I got the picture of the guy killing him, you're just like, oh my God, like 14-inch brows, just like brows as tall as the G2s. Every time's long as hell, giant beams. And then I seen that the guy who mounted the world record buck mounted that buck. So pretty cool. I was scrolling through that page. I'm like, oh look, there's a giant 8. I got his sheds right back here from the year before.
Yeah, when
2 years
the
before,
world record
trying to kill him. There's the sheds. So.
Yeah, when the world record
cool.
got killed, I just kind of was looking at Kibler's taxidermy page, and I was just scrolling through it, and I was like, oh, shit, hey, I know that deer.
Yeah, so this is 2 years before I had the opportunity to try to kill him, and, I mean, his brows didn't get any smaller, and everything else got better, so definitely an awesome deer. But, all right, what you got?
So this is the deer that we call the mule deer buck. This is the deer that was kind of more of a homebody on the farm. I was back in that transition zone stand. My brother had seen this deer 6 days before I shot him. And he was with a smaller buck and a doe at that time. I shot this deer on November 15th. And he was with a smaller buck and a doe in the morning that my brother seen him. And this was in a little 4-acre cut bean field. And it's literally the lowest, most farthest away from the truck spot on the farm that you can get. Right next to the neighbors is where they come out and pop into the opposite corner of the field that my brother was on. And if you would just take a straight line straight west, I'm about 200 yards from my brother. The only thing is there's a little water there's actually a creek there, pretty dense creek there that I couldn't see the bean field. I couldn't see that corner at least. And so I didn't see any deer that day that he's seen this buck. And we meet on the path that we walk in on, and he said he's seen this deer, and he said it looked like a mule deer. I said, well, what do you mean it looked like a mule deer? And he said, well, the G2s like kick backwards. They don't go just like straight up or even slightly forward. It's almost offset backwards. So it's just kind of been the mule deer buck. And he was telling me about, seeing them and stuff. And the following weekend I was hunting, and it was super cold. I mean, I was on vacation all week, and it was like 7:00, been in the stand for 50 minutes. And I was debating on like if I was even going to be able to hunt any longer, because I was so cold. And I'm like, how in the hell do I hunt all week and I'm fine? And here it is, opening gun season, and it's 7:00 and I'm about to get out of the stand. And so I literally was like back and forth. And me and my dad have had a couple, we've got burned a couple of times turkey hunting, because we'd always move or make a game plan, and we get burned after like 10 minutes of moving. There'd be a bird right where we were, So my dad always said, whenever you decide on a time and then stay that extra 10 minutes. So that's kind of what I was doing at this point. Like I knew I was going to hunt, but just trying to talk myself through it. And about 7:25, I heard a buck grunting in this small bean field, and he was sprinting as fast as he could run right behind a doe. And there was a small busted up 5-pointer with him. And at this time I didn't know, but there was another giant 8-pointer. This deer was probably 2 years older than the deer I shot, but he split off with another doe. So there's actually 5 deer running along this field edge. I just heard the buck grunt, looked over, and like immediately locked onto him. And there's a little dam there that they can go up to the bigger ag field, or they can jump into the transition zone and wrap around that into that knob like I was talking about earlier. And I said, well, whatever she does, he's going to do. I mean, he's all over her. And it was just kind of your typical rut hunt there. And she came in the timber, and he got about 15 yards in off the field edge, and I dropped him. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but like sometimes, like when my dad shot his 18-pointer, this happened. Like it's just like super smoky. And I don't know if it's just the humidity or what it is, but for some reason, like your shotgun just has a lot of smoke. And it was just like a magic trick. Poof, the deer's gone. So I could see the doe up bouncing around the hill, and she's working away by me, and she's obviously running now. But I could not find this buck. And I was like, well, where the hell did he go? And I'm like, there's no way that I just shot the biggest buck in my life and just dropped him. So lo and behold, that's what happened. I shot him right at the base of the neck and the shoulder, and there he dropped. So it's in the middle of the cold front there on that one, November 15th. Right. We scored it. Me and you scored it. 149 7/8.
Yeah.
149 7/8. So not quite the 150 mark.
Well, it's a 150. It's unique too. It's badass.
It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
He's got like a 8-inch brow on the one side, 6-inch on the other. And like I said, he's got little kickers off the twos, but just not enough to be actually considered a point. But they're there. And like I said, the G2s kick back, and it's a pretty cool buck.
Yeah, definitely right there on a not going to pass that deer. Just a little tight, just a little tight.
Yeah,
a little more width, he'd be a real be up there.
Definitely makes a tight, tall gene out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna move on to the 9-pointer. Didn't name this deer. I found this is my other, like, okay, bed hunting. That's what's in, right? This is a few years ago. That's all the talk. I found the bed.
9-pointer?
Yeah. Found a bed in the wintertime. All tore up, rubs, everything going on. I'm like, okay, cool.
I'm gonna hang a stand for a west wind coming in here on a cold front, and I'm gonna kill a buck right out of this thing. I don't know if we had Snapchat then or not, but I know I had told you like, buck's gonna come out of here, gonna be on this trail. I'm gonna shoot him like 10 yards, done deal. So
I think you would either rip right out of work or something, but you would definitely call me while you're going to hunt. Said this.
Yeah.
What was gonna happen?
I was like, there's gonna be a buck bedded in there. It was really windy and raining, and I was gonna be able to get in there. This stand's like 70 yards, 75 yards from this bed. Really thick cover, and then it goes straight into oaks where it's open. So it's kind of like a hillside that runs off, and the hillside's kind of real brushy, and it's facing like the southwest, and then on top you got an oak ridge that goes out to the ag. So I'm set right up on the oak ridge. I go in there, and I see a couple does, and I see a small 8-pointer coming in, and it's still kind of windy, and I'm at the point where I'm like, man, it ain't gonna happen. This was a day, cold front, right at the beginning of it, just got done raining. I got in there, didn't make a sound. That's the first time that we were filming. I had everything set up filming wise, ready to go. And then I'm sitting there, and I see this little buck over there. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Just watching him. And then all of a sudden I see the trees just going crazy over there. I look around, and here's this 9-pointer, this one right here, just raking a tree at like 35 yards. So he got in on me like a ghost, wet ground. I'm assuming he was bedded right there and just stood up. I seen that a buck stand up, but I'm pretty sure it was that small one. But that small one was definitely bedded there. And it worked out because some does had worked out of there and came past me. It's like, oh, this thing's gonna go right out there. Maybe check those does, get some. So he hops the old cattle fence right there, 10-yard shot, perfect, absolute money. Of course, don't get it on film. Don't get the shot on film. Twack, goes down. See him go down. Still like, shit, I don't know. Hear him crashing. Like he does a thing where he's on the ground, and then you see him where he like tries to get back up and falls down again. So you're like, okay, I seen him go down. He got up. I seen him go down again. Like he's messed up, So waited a couple hours, went over there and tracked him. Found him, 70 yards, just 139 inches is what he is. Got really good brows. Cool buck. But that was the first, like, going in, found a bed, found the sign, set up, killed the deer. A lot of luck there. That deer was in that bed. I got in there quiet, didn't bump that out. If I didn't have the weather or the wind, I couldn't have done it. But I remember there was this big, I can't think of the guy who posted it. But anyways, one of the influencers out there, I wish I could give the guy credit, but I cannot remember. He put out this post, and he was like, if you're a whitetail hunter and you got a buck that you want to key in on, this is the cold front of the year to do it. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay. It's like the wind's going to die down. Temperatures are going to drop. Deer are going to be on their feet early. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go do it, and it was exactly what the guy said. I seen that small buck and 2 does and 3 more does, and then a small buck, and then that deer. And more than likely there was a giant behind him, but I didn't get past him to see what else was out there. So I shot him, and then I was after freeze. So I
remember you telling me about that guy making that post.
Yeah, I can't think of who it was, but he had made the post about.
I don't know if it was like a big name, but it was a
well-known name. I wish I could give him credit, but he had basically said, like, this is the time to go in and strike on your best opportunity. Because remember, I told you, hey, I'm not going back here until November. Like, this was October 15th. I didn't say the date. This is October 15th. So this is like buck lull, not a lot going on. It's supposed to stay out of your good shit, and I'm crushing in past a
Yeah.
bunch of solid stuff to get back there. You know what I mean? Like where I killed in the past, I'm like going all the way in. So I don't know if the corner stand, if I would have been able to had enough daylight to kill him or not. Maybe not. It would have been low light if he was going up there.
Yeah, it'd have been low light.
He probably would have worked out, hit the grass edge, and worked like all the rest of them did up there when it was in its prime, you know.
Right.
So, and then, like I said, I killed that one October 15th in the evening. Cold front, high wind, rain, went in there tight to a bed and killed him. And then I was after freeze. He was my number one, so I didn't shoot anything else. That is when I passed the 159 pointer that I got on film. Solid high 140s, 159 pointer at like 15 yards. I'm like, what am I doing right now? I could just double buck out all the day. I think I got like 2 minutes of film in shooting range. Just there. I'm like, oh God, you know, but I'm like, Mom, I'm not doing it. Holding out. He'll be bigger next year, but you know, you never know. I was always thinking, oh, if I shoot one, I'm growing one. You know what I mean? But then you lose the property and you go from there. But all right, what do you got? You want me to run another one or hit yours or?
I'll go.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is the buck I shot, Ghost. I shot him on October 23rd on a field edge. And I want to say that this is it was the latter part of a cold front. I just, like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, whenever this was, I used to take 1 week in October vacation, 1 week in November of vacation. And this was my first time taking a week in October. And I started that obviously on Saturday, and this would have been on a Monday that I shot this deer. Weird how you remember shit like that. So the setup was that there was 3 active scrapes, and I didn't have any cams on this part of the farm. And I was actually going to a different stand, but I seen these scrapes, and I was just like, man, you just couldn't walk by it. It was just lit up. And we had some weather, some rain the previous day, so I could tell that it had been worked and it was pretty fresh. So I just had to set up on it. Ended up setting up there. These scrapes are 15 yards away, right on the field edge. One thing that is kind of different about this hunt is that I was kind of pushing the wind. I was being pretty aggressive with that wind because it would be blowing damn near right in the timber. I got a flat that comes in off the field running east and west, and it drops down to a giant cliff, which is a creek, and the creek runs north and south. Deer like to bed usually on that north facing side of that flat, which is the side that I would be hunting on. With it still being October 23rd, I still had plenty of foliage up to where I could get up in the stand and hopefully be undetected. It just is a matter of if he's bedded more down at the creek or if he's bedded closer to the field. But I just decided to risk it here. And I don't know if he caught my wind. Growing up, my dad was always kind of in the scent game. So I'd put out just some doe urine in them scrapes, and not a crazy amount, just a couple of drops in each. And I don't know if he caught my wind or caught that doe pee, but he definitely circled around and come in down the field edge, because next thing you know, he's in this first scrape, raking the bush that's right on the field edge. And I was waiting for him to come down the line, because if he had come to that third one, he'd have walked right in the shooting window, I mean, at 8 yards. And he decided to just bump in the timber and go back to bed. So he just come out, hit that scrape, and boom, going back to bed. Throughout this hunt, it started off kind of sunny, clouded up. We had rain for about 45 minutes to an hour, and this was in the evening. And the rain all went away by about 4:30. So I still had a good solid hour and a half. I think I shot him at like 5:30, and you could hunt till almost 6-ish, I think. And he just popped in the woods there 15 yards and done deal. You know, it's over at that point. So he's a really solid ass frame on this deer. He's a 10-pointer, good 4s. It's just he don't have no damn brows. If every deer I shot had that frame, I'd be happy. It just give me some little bit on the brows here. I think we scored him 143 and some change, 144.
Yeah,
So,
because we were wondering which was bigger, the 9-pointer or him. Remember when
yeah,
we put them together? It looked like the 9-pointer had a better frame because he had brows and shit, but that deer ended up scoring better because it had that, you know, extra G4.
yeah.
So, and the time length on that deer is cool. Had kind of the wavy. But I remember you messaged me and saying that you're going to switch stands because the rain had just come and you think the buck's going to freshen up these scrapes. It looks like it's been hitting them pretty recently. So definitely went with the gut on that one.
I will say that is when podcasts started coming out. I started listening to Mark Kenyon, and guys were talking about setting up on these scrapes during the late October timeframe and having that rain in the mix. And obviously when you listen to something and then you go out there and it kind of happens, you're kind of going to fall into love with them scenarios or them factors in a hunt, you know? So even till this day, I'll throw a random hunt out there in this time frame when it is raining or when there has been rain or something, and I'll sit over a pretty active scrape and see if lightning can strike twice there, I guess.
That is one thing about that property. There are some scraping mofos out there. There's ground scrapes everywhere out there.
Everywhere. Yes.
Nuts.
Definitely.
You go on where we public hunt, there's like no buck sign at all, but they're out there. They're just ripping out there. Insane.
Don't care.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's stop. I'm gonna do. How long are we getting right now?
We're at 52 right now, but
I'm gonna do. Yeah, I'll do freeze, and then I'll do the Missouri buck and the shotgun buck like all together. So freeze. If you guys want to hear about that deer, we did a whole episode about it. It was a deer that me and homie dedicated a lot of time to. It was a giant. We've talked about him 1,000 times on this podcast. One thing I want to note is homie had a 100% chance to kill him. I had 100%, you know, I mean, like there was he was in the stand that I thought he was going to go by. I was trying to get my buddy a doe kill, you know what I mean? And just, he was either going to go by me or you. We knew he was coming off the neighbors. We thought the neighbors had missed him. You know what I mean? They were telling us, oh, we missed an absolute legend, had all kinds of points and shit at the bar, you know, and we were like, you got to come through. And it was about his time to come through. And we had the trail cam pics up by you when he came through, you know, kind of patterned out. And we were thinking, okay, he's about to make a move. And one of us got to be in there. But I had took like 9 days off or something and did all day sets and out there by myself for I don't know how many times, and we weren't seeing any deer. Remember, it was rough.
No,
it was.
We hadn't really seen any good deer.
Yeah.
I think you shot freeze on November 17th, and I think the last shooter buck that was seen out there would have been on the 9th when you left for rifle season, and I stayed, and we moved that stand that you ended up killing him out of.
Yeah. So we moved the stand because we knew that the deer were kind of using an area different. There had kind of been like a washout that had happened, and they're cutting the washout instead of coming lower on the ridge. So we moved the stand in deeper and ended up shooting him with a shotgun at like 45, 50 yards, died, epic film, all the crap. It was cool. Ended up going one night, grossing 193, giant deer. Like I said, we got a whole podcast about him if you want to go back to that. Missouri rifle hunt, that would have been the next year after I killed freeze. We go down to Missouri. We're going to set up a rifle season. We actually go down there a day early on accident, thinking that rifle season started that day. We're going to go out that evening. And it actually started the next day. So we were like, okay, well, we'll just go down and hang a stand and stuff and hang out, eat food. And we went down there, we set up that stand, and we kind of talked about it, trying to figure out where we wanted to set up, and we had made a game plan of where they were going to essentially come through the oaks and bed back in here and maybe feed out in this grass a little bit. Had a good 3-way pinch of them coming off the neighbor's ag and stuff. And we'd almost set back in there deeper, and then we'd walked up there and talked about where we were going to set, but hung a double set, went down there, hunted for like 7 minutes the next day, and shot this buck. It was like a 70-yard shot, dropped him. Then you had switched, and we had seen a couple small bucks, a bunch of does. We heard a doe bleat for the first time. And then your kid ended up getting sick or something, right? We ended up cutting the hunt short.
Yeah, we got
evening.
your deer taken care of, and we had to jet home.
Yeah. So kids comes first. So we jetted home on that. And then that same year, I killed my shotgun buck, the accident buck, which ended up being the accidentally epic buck. I killed an 8-pointer during shotgun, some random ass deer that just showed up like 2 days before shotgun season. The neighbor had a picture of him. Well, it's not even really a neighbor. It's like 2.5 miles north in early November. So it was a deer that they were thinking about maybe they could hunt. And he ended up breaking a brow and losing an eye from their property to our property. And I thought it was chaos, like a 140 class buck we got out there. And it ended up being Bud Light, is what we ended up naming him. And it actually ended up not being Bud Light. Long story short, we thought it was a buck named Bud Light. And then we got trail cam pics of Bud Light after he was there. And we were like, man, this is just some random ass buck that looks exactly like Bud Light with a broken brow. But Bud Light has both brows. So he was 112 inches or something like that. Just a spindly wide 8-pointer with swooping beams. I thought he was a lot bigger, but it was my kid's very first hunt he'd ever been on. He's 4 years old. Or he's 5. He was 5. Yeah. He's 5 years old out there in the shotgun blind. No, he's 4. Yeah. He's 4 years old.
4. Yeah.
2 years ago. Yeah. 4 years old. I had my wife out there. We ain't seen any deer. Yeah. He was coloring shit. He's looking through the binos and stuff, and just an awesome moment. First kill out of the wagon blind. One of my absolute favorite deer that I have, and the smallest deer that I have that I've shot in the longest time. But it's just, he still talks about it. He got to see the deer, and then I said, hey, we got to be quiet. He got to see me shoot. I dropped him. There was excitement in the blind. He was all ready to go out there. He helped me load it up in the truck. Super cool. Just like I said, one of the smallest deer, but it comes down to it with your kids out there. It makes the hunt so much better. But all right, go ahead and run through your couple, and then I'll hit the public land and we'll cut her down.
So Sunshine, this was a deer that we had actually pretty consistent on cam in the summer. And this
the most
was
consistent deer ever. The reason I named him Sunshine is because he was out in the daylight so much.
Yeah. And ended up finishing out as a 9-pointer, threw a late 9th point on us. And it was an evening hunt, but it was the start of a cold front, because you had took the morning off and you hunted the morning and ended up actually passing him. And he was actually in a bed. This stand we call it a bedding set. Cody was hunting it, and Sunshine came in just like all the deer normally do there. They've been doing it on cam. And Cody said he kind of felt like he wanted to bed there, but he just knew something wasn't right.
Well, my battery had died in the camera, and he's like 30 yards. I'm digging for a battery, and he's like trying to bed, and I'm kind of making too much noise. And I don't spook him, but he's like, this ain't cool. There's something over there. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm going to roll out. So that's why I did bed there.
And so I didn't really think, and I don't know why I didn't think about this, but I get off work. It's a Friday. Cody hunted the morning. So he wanted me to hunt the evening, and it had to be a wind switch for it to be an east wind for us to be up on the corner of the food plot. And we went into hunt a buck that we call Chaos, and there was a very active scrape right in the corner of the property, on the edge of the food plot, and Chaos had been there, I want to say 3 out of 5 nights. And one of them was like 20 minutes after shooting lights. So we're like, okay, hopefully this is the cold front that, we can catch him slipping before all hell breaks loose with the rut coming. And I seen Sunshine come out of the mill exactly where he would have bed down from Cody's morning hunt. And as soon as I seen him, I said shooter, and I didn't even try to gauge him after that. Really, it was just kind of, okay, I'm going to shoot this deer. Comes into 12 yards, works this scrape right underneath of us. And then Cody's hand filming. He doesn't really like that, so he bumps out in the middle of this food plot with this absolute tiny ass doe. They're out there at 42 yards. I got one evergreen branch in the way that you don't even think about when you're up there, because we cut half the freaking tree down to get 2 stands in it. And just this one little thing, and I was like, okay, if he's just going to stand there, because he literally stood there for 3 to 5 minutes, and it's a legit 3 to 5 minutes on film. And in the Sunshine video, it's fast forwarded, it's sped up, and it's still, that long. So I was like, okay, if he's just going to stand there, I can make this shot work at 42. I'm just going to slide an ass cheek over, and I'm going to get it done. And it was about the time that me and you were talking. I was like, okay, yeah, it's 42, arranged it. All right, you ready? Okay, here we go. And then he circles around and starts going to exit the food plot on the north end of the property. And he come out and got 36 yards, and I was still good on the range there, and shot him. Just didn't make a good shot. Didn't stop him because he had spooked when he was 12 yards from us on the scrape. And I felt like he was just more on edge than he was anything else, but he was actually calm. I just read his body language wrong, and it ended up not stopping him. And at that distance, with a bow, you're gonna drift back whichever way the deer is walking, even if you do aim dead money. So picked him up in March, and that was kind of the story of Sunshine there.
Yeah, he did duck and turn also. When you're out there close to 40 yards, you have a deer that is alert at all, he's going to duck a lot more than you think he's going to. And I always aim low. I aimed low on the buck I shot this year, and I still shot him high. So
yeah, that's what I was talking to Michelle about this week. And I said, just zero it in 2 inches low. I said, I don't care if you're shooting crossbow or regular bow, whatever, zero it in 2 inches low. And even if it's 45 yards, you're still going to be money.
Yeah.
So it's just going to help you. You're not.
I've had him not duck at all, and then I've had does, especially does, like alert does. Man, I've had them drop, and I've missed them before. Like, wow, that was embarrassing. But it's just something that you gotta, you're not shooting the fastest bows in the world. You're not shooting a super high speed crossbow or something. But you got your other bow buck still, right?
Yeah. I wasn't going to touch on him. I was going to touch on this other big 8-pointer.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So as got cameras out onto a property, just kind of in my transition here to get to where I am today, I'm going to talk about the first year that I actually wanted to target. The second year I actually targeted. First year was Deuce. But this year actually matured into an encounter instead of just having a shed antler on. So this deer is probably, it was 130 class 8-pointer, a very big frame deer. And we had him on camera consistently about 20 yards off this big ag source.
I really like those pictures of him on that scrape.
Yeah,
those are super nice.
Super cool pictures.
Yeah.
And this is about 20 yards in off the ag source, and it's on a logging road, so it's a nice path, except they're not really walking on that road. They're crossing it north and south, and the logging road is going east and west. And he was there in daylight, and when you just see a deer and there's just like kind of something about him. That's just kind of like what this deer was for me. Just kind of something about him. And where he was is there's a stand there now, but back then there wasn't, and it wasn't mobile. You know, it's just kind of all preset hang-ons or ladder stands. But wanting to target this deer got me hunting in different areas of the farm, different sides of the farm, instead of just. And this is kind of like me, like really starting to break out and try to do, you know, deer hunting thing. And it's amazing, like when you get cameras that you want to start hunting that type of way. And all of this kind of led up to an encounter on November 8th. I was really deep on the property, down in a giant ravine. This is down off of the stand that I ended up calling the Buck Nest. It's about 250 yards from that. Deeper, down in the creek bed. And this scrape that he was consistently on was to the east. And I'm down in the creek bed, expecting him to come from the east in the morning. And I think I just caught him in between does on November 8th in the morning because he was by himself. I'd had 2 does come in on me earlier in the morning, and he come down the hill running, and that's kind of what got me looking over there. It was just like a slow motion, played out deal. I mean, in the moment, it's like super fast. One of the fastest hunts, but like just him coming down, you could just like see like, oh shit, that's my deer, you know? And I shot him in the shoulder and I wasn't able to recover him. But for it being the second deer that I wanted to target and have actual pictures of and actually encounter him and get a shot off at 16 yards, that's one of the conversations I was having with myself is if I was getting a new bow or not. And I pushed it off for 2 years, and then right there, it bit me in the ass. Not saying if I would have had the bow I have now, that it would have been a different outcome, but I would have felt better about it. And I just think he was in between does, slipping around, and it was just, you know, a cool thing to achieve a goal, I guess, to actually encounter deer you have on cam instead of just out there chasing a freaking ghost around. So
encounter a deer, work on a plan, and actually, you know, you hit him in the shoulder. Everybody hits one in the shoulder eventually and loses them, and you did everything right in the last little, you know, mix up, but you beat that deer at it, you know, at his game by targeting him, and that's what we like to do. That's what me and you like to do. We get really emotionally attached to deer. I feel like if we didn't do that, we would kill more. But we just get emotionally attached to. I just don't want to target. I want the target. Mm-hmm. And it also helps when it's a big deer and you get you're like, oh, you know, how many times we're gonna be able to hunt this kind of deer, blah blah blah, blah, you know what I mean? But I had actually forgot about that buck until you just mentioned that. Yeah, that was a while ago, but
and that's just one that kind of sticks with me. Not a kill, but damn near a kill.
Can't get no closer than not killing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say not a scoop and score in March or anything. A non-lethal hit. He bed down one time, but there was nothing. And I was following, you know, dime-sized blood for 80 yards, and I ended up bumping him up. And
you got very, very little penetration.
Yeah, it was only about 3. Arrow. Yeah, just enough to cover. They had outserts on my arrow, so I was shooting a micro diameter, and just barely got past that brass insert on the tip there. So definitely square in the shoulder. And as soon as I shot, I was like, didn't like hear the pop or, you know, the shoulder blade or anything, but it's just, that one's far forward. And I seen the arrow in him before he got to the creek, and then I seen the arrow. I picked up the arrow about 10 yards after he jumped the creek and was headed up to the other hillside. And that's how I know I got 3 inches of penetration. So that one bit me. That one bit me for a little bit. I don't think I shot a buck that year.
No, you're pretty tore up.
That was a break.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll cover the last one.
November 7th last year, we killed the random buck that I wasn't gonna shoot from the west side. What did we end up calling him? I ended up calling him something. I can't remember.
Yeah, we did. I don't know.
Huffy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Huffy, because we packed him out on a bike.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this is a deer that we had pictures of on the west side, and homie's like, yeah, I probably shoot that deer. And I was like, man, I don't know. I didn't score him, but I'm gonna say like 120, 125 maybe is what I'm thinking. But I haven't put a tape to him. He is a 10-pointer, so that helps. You know what I mean? No brows though. Absolutely no brows. No. So that's gonna hurt him. Inch brows.
Worse brows than ghost. Yeah.
Yeah, we had just encountered Magnum, and we moved, and this was just a random buck cruising in a pinch. Typical November hunt. A solid 3-year-old. We had been getting our ass kicked on public, and I was ready to kill. I wanted you to be behind the bow, get a lot of action. So I couldn't pass a deer that you would shoot. You know what I mean? That's just dumb. You know what I mean? When we're out there together, you killed that deer just like I killed that deer. I killed Sunshine just like you killed. You know what I mean? When you're filming together, it's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who pulls the trigger doesn't really matter at that point. You still beat that deer. So I know that was the deer that you said you were going to shoot. And I was like, I seen that 10-point side, and I was like, if he was an 8, wouldn't happen. But I seen he was a 10. I was like, okay, I'm shooting him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I said I'm
exact
shooting him
same.
before you even seen him. I was like,
Yeah.
Buck, I'm shooting him.
I was in my own little world up there.
Yeah. So he came in. It was like a 25-yard shot, maybe 20 somewhere in there, and he had us pegged, and then just turned and gave me it. So I was like, ain't gonna pass this up. And he crashed in 50 yards and did the circle of death. Homie got him going down, and we really needed,
I still don't know.
yeah, we really needed that we really needed a kill at that point. So I'm glad we did get one, because man, we were just down, getting our ass beat, and just too much stress to kill at that point. You know what I mean? So
that's also when obviously it was work to get him out, but like that's when the tiredness really started. We got him out, and we didn't hunt that evening, but I mean, holy shit, like the next day it was just like, oh, okay, all right, we got one down, here we go again, you know?
Yeah, I was refreshed after we took that evening off. I felt ready to rip, you know, but
maybe it was a couple days, but well, the day before we killed, the day we seen Magnum, and the day before, which was the day before you killed, that move.
Yeah, that's what did it. It's like the 3 miles of stands on our backs, making a move, and then coming back to where we were, because
to move 65 yards.
The wind was crazy. We should have just set up on the crazy wind and just sent it. That's what we got to do this year. We just got to send stuff. Just stop thinking about bumping him. There's other people out there bumping him. We just got to hunt where we think he's going to be, no matter what's going on. When it's November, you know, when we got that time gap, we just got to be there wherever he's at. And if we bump him, we bump him. You know what I mean? But we can't just play the edge anymore. We got to get in the center of that shit and go for it. But I'm sure we'll have a whole episode of the game plan on that. Going, but well, we hope you guys enjoyed this. This was kind of, like I said, this isn't all the bucks we've killed for sure, but this is just the last few years and some that stuck out. But we want to put this out there and let the listeners know that we actually have killed a few deer and got lucky every now and then, and been consistently killing together in the same tree, which people don't do. You know, we got 3 kills in the same tree now in 2 years. That's pretty solid, you know? So a lot of people have a hard time killing 2 guys in the same tree, and we're getting it done. Killed on public. A lot of people have a hard time doing that. Did that together, you know, and this year I think it's going to be our best year yet. Got a lot of potential. The private should have a lot of shooters on it. We got a good plan of where we need to be. October, we normally don't hunt that in October very much. We got to pound that in October this year, just because it's too good in October. And then we're waiting for late season, and they're not there anyways. So we're like, oh, we'll wait till November, and then they're not there to hunt. So we got to hunt it hard in October, just make it happen. But like we always say, try to do the right thing. Try not to judge a guy on how many deer he's killed or not killed. He could still be out there doing something that you might want to, listen about, or might have some tactic that he's doing that is cool or something you want to try, and try to do the right thing and leave a legacy. And Whitetail Legacy is out.
Dunzo.
All right, brother.